So, I wanted to do a video about the legislation of morality. This is a big problem in the United States, the concept that you can legislate morality. Now, the thing is, the prevailing morality of the United States has always been far more conservative than the Old World. Okay, that's why a lot of the people that came here from the Old World came here, because we were our ancestors were religious heretics that were fleeing the immorality of Europe to come to the New World to start up what amounted to mostly religious colonies. For example, Pennsylvania was a religious colony. Philadelphia was a religious colony. Okay, but you can't legislate morality. And the reason why is because when you try and legislate morality, it doesn't change the person. The person can only change through embracing on their own a standard of living that coincides with greater morality. Also, while there is a prevailing morality which is represented by the social norms, don't get me wrong, the big ones like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not do this or that, these things, these can be legislated and should be legislated. But when it comes down to incrementally legislating tiny things or trying to control what people do in the privacy of their own homes, that's when you make a big mistake. I like to go back to the outlawing of spirituous beverages and alcohol, what was called prohibition. Now, this was, I am a firm supporter of the Adventist lifestyle, okay? But the Adventism, Seventh-day Adventism, also was very anti-alcohol, okay? And many adherents were pro-prohibition because they thought that if they could get rid of alcohol, more people would actually, be more fit, okay? Well, the problem is when you try to legislate away alcohol, which is what the United States did, it actually created what we now call the mafia, which has now been replaced with other organized crime groups, more or less. But basically, organized crime would not have existed if it was not given the ability to prosper through the outlawing of alcohol, which allowed the mafia to make alcohol and import alcohol from Europe and make quite a profit. In fact, drinking allegedly went up during Prohibition compared to prior to Prohibition. And the reason why was because there were no legal limits on age, no regulation. Now, as I said, you can legislate prosperity. Now, that's true. Now, one of the funny things is the Trump administration, who promised $100 billion to the black ghettos, the other day was tweeting out that, well, socialism doesn't work. Well, that might be somewhat true if you're talking about communism, but when you're talking about actual socialism, such as that of FDR, or National Socialism, it most certainly does work. And what you never hear U.S. politicians talk about with the legislation of prosperity through socialism and public works is it 100% does work. It's when it becomes abusive. And that's when you try and turn the legislation of prosperity into the legislation of morality. That's the problem. It's not about morality. It's about improving the standard of living in the nation. Now, this is what has also caused a problem with progressivism. Basically, progressivism in the United States supported a lot of things like fascism. The Rockefeller Foundation helped support Benito Mussolini. Okay, and there was a lot of progressive, for example, the Eugenics Society of California basically helped Hitler learn about eugenics. Of course, Hitler took it to an insanely wacky, wackadoodle, kooky level because what Hitler promoted was not science, it was crap. But the fact is, ultimately, the progressive movement in the United States was promoting the application of science to public policy. What happens, though, is the modern progressives, or so-called progressives, they're really, I wouldn't even call them liberals, I'd call them Marxist communists, decided to take the concept of utilizing science to promote public policy to using mixing science with ethics and trying to legislate morality and ethics. And you can't do that. The ultimate goal with morality and ethics is it is a personal thing. Again, there are prevailing social norms, but ultimately morality and ethics is an individual thing, and it cannot be legislated.